So, welcome everyone to our Study Abroad podcast series. So, today we have Vineeth, who is in US and will be knowing about his journey from India to US. So, welcome Vineeth to our podcast.
Yeah, thanks, Vishal. Thanks for having me here.
So, Vineeth, I see that you are from IIT Madras and you did a few of the research internships while doing your BTech degree. So, you were pretty clear about going study abroad for a long time. Like, when was the very first time you thought that maybe I should try something abroad?
Yeah, actually, I did my master's in IIT Madras. During my master's itself, I was clear that I want to do research going forward. So I have a couple of options then. So should I do it in India or should I go abroad? Then I thought of doing some internship. Fortunately, I got selected into two prestigious internships. Then I realized I really like the culture over there. The one thing that really attracted me is that their interdisciplinary approach towards the things. Even right now, even my background is in civil engineering. I am doing research. Even my degree is in computational biology with machine learning aspect. So yeah, these all things made possible because of abroad studies itself. Yeah.
Sure. And where did you go for your internships? Like you went abroad somewhere?
Yes, yes. So I got an internship in NTU Singapore through NTU India Connect, and I got another internship in Arizona State University. This is me. The other internship, the latter internship that I got in ASU in USA, is mainly by emailing the professor. It's not through any platform. I just emailed the professor. I like their research. Yeah, it happened in that way. But
Uh,
for NTU India Connect, we have a portal back then when I was applying. I think from IIT Madras, around six people got selected to that. And there you go and you do your research for 3 months. They will fund you everything. Yeah.
so this Arizona State University and NTU, both of them you went physically or there was like
Yeah.
remote aspect
Uh,
of it?
so for NTU Singapore, it was in person. Even for Arizona State University, I should go in person, but because of COVID, things got changed over.
Okay, okay, sure, sure. So you already had these two experience. So in your statement of purpose, you could have mentioned that I went to NTU, then I got this Arizona State. Now I want to try
Yeah,
something else.
that was really a plus point in my CV. Like when I'm applying for PhD, right? Like PhD applications are lit different from master's application. You need to have a very concrete statement of purpose. Like it's not like just stating that I like this, but you should support your statements. Like so, these two research internships really helped me to bolster my statement of purpose very strongly. And yeah,
Sure, sure. And how many colleges, universities you applied to when you are planning to do your PhD?
uh, so again, it round backs to a different story. Initially, I was not very clear where to start, what to apply. What is the driving force for me is research. I was just pointing out professors based on the research publications that I was following. And I made a list of professors, but not colleges. Then I emailed professors, and from few of them I got response because for PhD it is more like you should get approval from professor, not from the college. If professor is willing to take, then that's the go. And in the process, I got responses from six professors across the world, including Europe, Singapore, and USA. And I applied to all the six. I got into all the six programs. So if you don't get any responses, there are chances that you may get into the program, but I would say they are very minimal.
Sure, sure. And you connected to all these professors through email, LinkedIn, or how did you connect to these people?
I was planning for fall 2022 admit. I started writing emails in fall 2021, but I never used to get proper responses because now I can realize seeing my professor in Virginia Tech, they get a hell lot of emails about prospecting. So you should be very, very precise about writing an email. It should be as short as possible. Try to include some presentation, some CV. And sometimes professors may not be reachable. So what I used to do is that, especially for University of Texas, Austin, I contacted the senior grad students over there and just expressed my interest, my background, and how I will fit into them. And they informed about me to the professor, and it worked for me as well. So I would say, yeah. Emailing is a good thing to do. I've never tried LinkedIn, or I tried LinkedIn to contact the grad students over there. Yeah,
Sure, sure. So email and LinkedIn, you used to connect to the people whom you wanted to work
yes,
with, either as a
yes,
peer or as a senior junior.
yeah,
Sure, sure.
yeah.
And this Virginia Tech PhD was an obvious decision out of the six places you applied, or you were like a bit confused in pinpointing VT?
Yes, yes, because I was I was little confused because back then when I got admits from different colleges, I was thinking about ranking of the universities because I got in a program MIT WHO and like NTU Singapore, which are ranking much better than Virginia Tech. Uh, but the reason why I choose Virginia Tech is because of research that is being done in my professor's lab. And I have a chance to do an interdisciplinary computer science research. And we have a great source of publications also when compared with the other labs. So it was a tough decision for me, but I'm really liking what I'm doing now. I'm happy.
So once you decided your Virginia Tech thing, you had to go through the visa process and all. Could you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, again, it was like a big hurdle for me, especially the visa process. So there is this particular thing known as 221G slip, which I have never heard before. When I went to the visa interview, they have seen my DS 160, I think so, and they have straight away asked me, "What is your research that you have done in this area, like in Singapore?" And it was something related to hazardous chemicals. Then straight away he gave me 221G slip. It was very shocking to me, and that process was very tedious. Like it has around 10 documents, including my CV, a letter from my prospective professor stating that the research that we are planning to do is no way harmful for US, my publications, my international visits. They asked me all the things. What was more terrifying than that is it took a long time for me. It took me around 4 weeks. Fortunately, I got a visa slot way earlier, like in maybe in the first week of June, so I was able to survive. But I know few people who applied in the late of July, where the courses are going to start in August. They were unable to clear the incoming deadline, so they need to defer their admission. And if it is a PhD, then there are chances that your admit may get cancelled also because your funding is ready and people want to work come as soon as possible come here as soon as possible and start working. So especially if you're a PhD candidate with a background of chemical engineering or aeronautical engineering or material science, make sure that you may receive 221G and try keeping your application, try getting your visa slot as early as possible.
Sure, sure. And so this stressful time of this visa up and down, which visa office did you go to? Like, what was the which location was this?
It was in Chennai embassy.
And they made you like come there like few times, is it?
No, no, not actually. So they gave me that slip, and it was mentioned clearly that I need to email all these documents to a specific email ID. I'm not very sure whether they received that email or not. I did not get any acknowledgement. But after 3 weeks, I got an email saying that your visa is approved. So you should come and collect it back. And I have a visa restriction also. Like I had a visa restriction of 4 years. Usually, PhD students will be getting it for 5 years. But my scenario, I had only for 4 years.
So they did keep your passport and gave you this document checklist kind of thing and asked you to submit these by email.
In Chennai embassy, that's the case, but it varies from embassy to embassy. I know few people from Kolkata embassy where they return their passport. Even in Hyderabad embassy, they return their passport, and the slip color is also different. Yeah.
Okay, okay, sure, sure, sure. Yeah, yeah, I think different scenarios. Okay. Anyway, so once you got the visa, I think you are slightly relieved that okay, your visa is done now. So you did proceed with your flight booking and accommodation. How was that?
Yeah. It was pretty smooth and straightforward. I should thank Virginia Tech Indian Student Association because they have conducted a series of webinars for all the incoming students where they have properly jotted down all the things like how you need to come to US, what are the things you need to carry, where do you get a bus from the destinated airport, what are the possible routes that you can travel. Even for housing options, we have a webinar that has been done. So it was very helpful for me and it was pretty straightforward.
Which airline did you finally end up taking?
I think I have, I'm not sure. It should be one among Qatar or Emirates, one among those two.
Okay, okay, sure, sure. And this was your first trip to US?
It was my first trip to US. Yes.
And did you had any other person traveling with you, or you traveled pretty much alone?
No, I traveled alone. It was just me.
So when you traveled alone, you landed, was there any initial shocks or like some surprises that you observed in US as a culture or as a people or environment?
Uh, as a culture, I would say it was little different, obviously, since we are from other continent. But I was anticipating they would stop me again at security check because of my 221G, but they did not do anything as such. They just asked me for my I-20 and what I'm planning to do next, and that's it. It was just a small thing.
Okay. And the accommodation that you got, you like the roommates that you had, how did you find these roommates?
It was again through Virginia Tech Indian Student Association. We had a kind of Excel sheet that is circulated in our group, and where you can able to get a prospective roommate based on your interest, like cuisine that you want to try or eat. So yeah, it was pretty much straightforward.
Sure, sure. And when you started your PhD, did you have to take any classes, any courses you had to complete in the first year or first semester?
Yes, yes. Actually, I started my PhD in civil engineering, for which I have transferred few of my courses from IIT Madras. In between, like my professor has a joint holding in computational biology and computer science. So we are thinking of me transferring to that department. So I took a lot of courses from computer science because I don't have much expertise or background in that area. So I took a lot of courses, I would say.
So what are the key differences that you saw like in your undergrad, IIT and Virginia Tech, the way of teaching, the education system, US versus India?
Yeah, I would say in US it was pretty much specific kind of thing, and especially when it comes to coursework, I would I cannot use the word easy, but they're more towards learning oriented. Like back in IIT, we used to have exams, even there we have a good learning exposure, but exams used to be very, very difficult and tough. And literally we need to spend a lot of time to get a good grade. But here in VT, if you have a proper understanding of the things, of the subject, automatically you will get a good grade. And it was more like assignment oriented kind of learning, not towards exam. We do have exams in VT, but those exams won't carry much of the weightages. Most of the weightage will be given to your project, at least at a graduate level, and to your assignments that you are submitting and class discussions, paper discussions, more of that sort. Yeah.
Sure, sure, sure. And in your lab, like how many people were there? Like diversified lab or like
It's very, very diversified lab. I think one of the reasons for selecting VT is the same reason. It was very diversified. We have people from across the continent, I would say. It's a very big lab. We have around 21 people, three professors handling the lab. So one from computer science, one from civil engineering, one from biochemistry. And there are other professors from policy aspects as well, but these three professors are main.
sure, sure. That sounds like a big lab and like three people handling. So you have to present to like all three every now and then, or it's like
No, no, not
once.
like that. It's we won't be presenting it very now and then, but if we have any update, like our PIs will be very open and welcoming to share their insights and guidance. But it was not like that we need to present every now and
Sure, sure. This few things which are also very different from India to US is like, cooking, cleaning, laundry,
then.
washing, etc. You have to do generally by yourself. Whereas in India, you can, find some domestic help and it's a lot cheaper to get those domestic help. So in this case, were you a bit prepared? Like what was the hardest thing for you to adjust to?
I was not at all prepared for any of these things. I know I need to cook myself, but I know these things. But even in Singapore, when I was doing my internship, it was more like an IIT Madras style, like where you have some kind of dorms, you have some proper kitchen places and all that stuff. But in US, it was completely independent. I was not at all prepared for this, but slowly I got used to it. And I would say this actually made me more and kind of, it improved my management skills as well, because you need to plan the things very properly. Like it made me more independent, I would say, when compared with in India, or doing all these things and parallelly doing research.
Okay. So, did you use this hack called cook once and eat like few times?
Yeah, I used to do it in my starting years of my US, but later I changed more to Western kind of cooking where I cook more of salads. But weekly once I will be cooking more of an Indian kind of food.
Sure, sure, sure. And after you got adjusted to all this, and then you did your labs, etc., you had any part-time job also apart from RATA job, or you were just doing RATA all the time?
But yeah, since I'm having RA, which is of 20 hours a week, I reach the limit I'm not supposed to do. But like if you are on RA, like you won't, I think it will be pretty much sufficient for you, and it's not required to do any other.
Sure, sure, sure. And this RA, the research that you do as a RA is adding to your PhD research only, or is it different than that?
It actually depends from lab to lab. In our lab, some part of it will go to your thesis and some part won't. In some other labs, completely attached to your PhD. In few labs, it is very different from your PhD thesis.
Sure, sure. And did you also try any internship opportunity, or you will try after some time, or like during the summer?
Yeah, I have tried couple of biotech internship companies with computer science. I got into few, but actually was not able to take a perfect call on that because they were asking me for 7 months internship. Usually PhD internships will be of that duration, especially when you apply for Bay Area to big companies. So I decided that me and my professor decided that we should give it try next year. Maybe when I was like a little bit more confident about the research direction I was proceeding to.
Sure, sure, sure. And what are your future goals about your career?
It was not pretty clear for me. I initially thought of going to academia with PhD, but now I would like to give a try for an internship in industry. Then, based on my experience in that, I would like to take a call.
Sure, sure, sure. That's fine. And what about the weather at Virginia Tech? How does the weather vary? Like any depressing winters you faced?
No, it's not very depressing. We have all the 4 seasons. Winter will be little harsh, but not super harsh. It's good. It's kind of okay. Like it goes like it snows one,
But it is only there for one day. Usually, on the average, the winter temperature will be -4 or -5. Summers will be pretty pleasant. It is not so harsh. I like summers more than winter in Virginia Tech.
Sure, sure, sure. And did you travel somewhere nearby? Any conferences so far?
Yeah, I went to one conference internationally to Canada, which happened recently in May, like like the next last summer that I went there, and a few other small conferences inside the campus as well. Yeah,
Sure, sure. And this place was where in Canada? Which location?
Quebec, Montreal, Quebec.
Okay, okay, okay. Sure, sure, sure. Okay, okay, Vineeth. So coming to the very last question now, what will be some tips you would like to give to junior yourself or the juniors who would like to pursue PhD, etc., from Virginia Tech or US in general?
Yeah, it's so what I would say is that keep your research ahead of everything. Just try yourself, try a hand in research. If you really like doing research, then get some good research exposure, maybe working under a professor or maybe some research internships. Then start figuring out what professors you want to work or where do you want to see yourself down the line. Based on that, you select universities. not just based on ranking. Ranking is important, I do agree, but research is more important than ranking when it comes to PhD. Then uh, one important thing is that try reaching out professors as early as possible. Unlike your masters, for PhD, you need a very pretty much solid SOP where you need to mention your professor's name. And if you don't know the professor is hiring students for next time, and if you mention them, and if they're not having fun, then your application may not be moved to other professors. So make sure the professor is having some fun and is willing to take international students as well. Because in US, like most of the funds will be to national students. For international students, the funding opportunity or funds that we get from government are very different and they work very differently. So it is very essential to reach professors way before and at least have a Zoom meeting with them to know whether you will be fitting in their lab, whether they fit, just check the mutual fit for each other. And if you don't have, like many people will be reaching out asking me, I don't have a publication. Is it good to apply for PhD? Absolutely, yes. In PhD application, there is no need of any kind of publications. But if you have one, it will be definitely good. If you don't have that, just show some spike in your CV. It can be some research internships. It can be good CV. It can be good CGPA or some good institutes where you have worked. That will really help.
Sure, sure. So thank you, Vineeth, for your time, and we hope our audience have learned something from this podcast. And we'll be posting this on YouTube and LinkedIn. So some of them might contact you with their questions. So feel free to answer them whenever you have time.
Sure. Thanks. See you. Bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye.